Thank you for joining us, and welcome to Vault 710. Tonight we invite you to the Wasteland and into the Greener Pastures audio series. Our story is set in the Fallout universe, positioning us in the frozen tundra, many years after the Great War. Be prepared to imagine a world far bigger than the lower 48. Now here's your vault suit and your Pip-Boy. Settle in and try to get warm, while we tell the tale of hot snow, strange creatures, and conspiracy. Also, why you should never bring a mini-nuke underground. Please, enjoy.
Kilroy McCarver's log, May 20th, 2296. So we're supposed to set up blast charges to fill in the pool of water. Then we'll fill it in with cement and cap it off. Once that's done, we're going to move the drill forward. I don't know how we're going to do this. It was a small group that was chosen. We don't want to spread the information that there is a deadly creature stuck in the caves that we just opened. As far as most people know, we're just filling in the hole so that we can lay down the new foundation. From what I understand, that thing isn't going to leave the water. That doesn't make it any less worrisome. Some people are saying that the voices and the imaginary people some are seeing are somehow related to this thing. Who knows what else could be lurking in there? Who knows what else we might wake up when we blow this place? We could end up with something worse. At least we got some good materials out of it before it all went to shit. There's nothing to be done about the lives lost already, but we can stop more people from dying. We decided that being quiet was better than wearing extra protection. We don't want to alert whatever is in there of what we're doing.
Lucy Charger's log, May 20th, 2296. My hands hurt. I'm supposed to be learning how to maintain the water chip. I shouldn't be carrying rocks back and forth. I should be starting my apprenticeship. But Wilfred didn't even say anything when the overseer reassigned me. I wish I was playing games with Mom and Dad, calling Luke a jerk. I feel so tired. They're making us work harder just because we're young. We were finally given a break when they held a meeting. Not everyone went, just the really important people. None of the adults want to explain what's going on. They're all acting insane. Even some of the younger people are acting weird. Even I can see something is going on.
Dean McBride's log, May 21st, 2296. It was hard to see in the dark when we initially went in there. We didn't want to give anything the chance of seeing us. Stealth was our primary defense. Setting these charges was nothing short of a miracle. The clinking of metal, the sound of switches flipping as the chargers were primed, it was deafening in the din of the dark. We could barely keep our balance on the wet stone floor. The sound of water was still ever present as the drips from the ceiling and the splashes of the waves tried lulling us into a false sense of security. When we heard a thud, it was already too late. We couldn't see anything in the dark, and I was too afraid to say anything and risk giving away my location. As far as we know, this thing can't see in the dark either. The noise was closer to me than it was to anyone else. I could even hear Fred's gasp as he hit the ground. Then the sound of something being dragged into the water. There was a second sound, far fainter, like the scraping of claws on wet stone. I heard someone from that direction scream, and a series of weak splashes. Emergency lights went up as we scanned the area for where our teammates went. Most were just looking for a point of egress. We didn't see either of those things at first glance. Instead, there was this creature with giant forearms leaning out of the water, its pitch-black eyes looking directly at us. We could tell it was waiting for us to come closer so it could pull us into the water with its other victims. We quickly grabbed all our equipment, leaving the charges that we had already set up, bolting our way over rocks, barely keeping our balance as we ran towards the exit. I still don't know how we made it out. That thing looks like it could have been on top of us before we managed to shoot. I tried to describe the thing we saw to the people who heard the commotion and came running. It was impossible at that point to keep the secret of what was going on in the vault any longer. The overseer explained everything he knew. I think. It's hard to tell how much he knows and how much he's lying about. I think he left out the bit about the voices because he too was afraid. I know he's getting them too. I see him muttering to himself all the time. They're still in my head too. They're practically screaming for me to run into the water and jump in, to see how far I can go down before I drown.
Overseer's Log, May 22nd, 2296. I had dreams of green and black eyes staring from the watery darkness. Something tried to pull me under. I could feel this thick darkness fill my lung as I tried to scream. The darkness coated me, seeping into my very being. I closed my eyes, but even in the opalescent darkness behind my eyelids, I saw visions of mouth, teeth, and tentacles, curling and gnashing their way towards me. When I finally managed to open my eyes again, I was inside of my bedroom, my hands clutching the sheets, my muscles sore, sleep paralysis gripping me tightly as the Emmy cook, with its wide, toothy smile, stood at the foot of my bed. It told me it knew of my plan, and that it was disappointed in my unwillingness to do what it wanted, even if it led me to getting what I wanted as well. I was unable to respond, and I think it knew, because it continued speaking.
If you refuse to listen to me again, it won't be the end of your vault, but you'll wish it was. I want you to listen closely. There is a rebellion growing in your vault. More people want to leave. This will surely lead to their deaths. You need to stamp out the seeds of this rebellion before they spread. If they succeed, then neither of us will get what they want. I don't know why you don't trust my promises. I can hear what's in your heart and soul.
It turned and leisurely walked out of the room while I lay in my bed wondering what had just happened. Sleep eluded me for the rest of the night while I considered all the horrible things the Emmy cook was capable of. Old Theo's Cremation Log, May the 23rd, 2296. More people dying and less people caring. I've never had to incinerate this many bodies. The amount of apathy growing in the vault terrifies me. People used to go out of their way to help others. If an eye dropped something, everyone would stop and help pick it up for me. They know I have a bad back. Even during those unpleasant moments when someone died, I would often have someone offer to help me toss the body into the fire. I can't blame them. Who wants to see the physical manifestation of their fear? I'm not immune to it either. I used to take good care of these bodies up until the last moment. I just don't care anymore. It stinks, but I'm too old to keep doing this. Of course, Brooks hasn't found me a replacement yet. I can't wait to retire so someone else can start dealing with this depressing job of disposing of bodies. I can only imagine how much worse it's been getting for Troy. I might have pushed him a bit too far when I confronted him about why we're suddenly dealing with a plummeting life expectancy. He's still hiding something from me. He mentioned Kilroy when he deflected the question. That in itself is evidence enough that something really scary is going on. I think I'm better off not knowing, even if it is driving me to an early grave.
The next morning, the dwellers saw rut marks in the trees. The markings were over 3 meters tall and gouged deep into the wood. Different types of fur stuck out of the snow, their tufts matted in blood. Rebecca examined the samples before asking Amka, how did these creatures manage to take on a colossus in the night? These markings are too high to be from a rad stag or a goat, especially when you realize it happened without any of us hearing. Amka didn't seem fazed. She coolly replied, now you know how dangerous they are. Luke's Expedition Journal. The wildlife in this place just gets more insane by the day. The creatures that stared at us the first night have a name. I don't remember what they called them, but they still stare at us from the trees at night. That girl, Amka, I told you about, she decided to come with us. She has all sorts of fascinating things to say about Alaska. Some of it makes me want to hide in a cave, except she's told me of the things that live in them as well. I'm not sure how much more dangerous these creatures could get. There's a giant mutated ancestor of the common moose. They're bigger, meaner, and apparently very valuable. They use its shit to start fires. The pelts are radiation proof, and they provide enough meat to feed an entire tribe for a week. We're slowly running out of supplies that the natives gave us. Soon we're going to have to venture further in just to find enough to feed us. I don't want to go into the forest. No matter how much game and fowl we find in there, it's not worth the danger of losing more people. Others seem to think it's some sort of elaborate prank to keep us from the hunting grounds that the natives use. Daniel, Marie, and Amka have tried to tell them that there's no reason for them to do that. They're a nomadic people. They don't stay in one area and fish it dry, or hunt all the birds within a 10-mile radius. That's what our ancestors did, and this is where it led us. I think there's a lot to learn from their way of living. Who knows when we'll cross paths again? They were far nicer than they should be given the environment they choose to live in.
After a couple more days of travel, their supplies began to run dry. They decided to start hunting around the edges of the forest during the day, while the things that lived in the dark were less active. The dwellers were growing desperate enough to go deeper, going against Amka's warnings. She eventually relented and agreed that this was their best bet for finding fresh game. This far north, there was very little vegetation that was edible. She told everyone to be more careful about how they hunted, as well as not to get too greedy. There weren't any rivers nearby to fish. Those were all deeper inside the forest or on the other side of it. Soon enough, they began to take Amka's cautioning less seriously. One evening, the hunting party stayed a bit too late. The few who returned said the creature was just as Amka described. They came down from the trees before anyone knew what was happening. We heard the whistles. At first we thought it was a ptarmigan. When Dennis looked up, he started yelling for us to run. We were stunned. It was too dim to see him or what he was looking at. He fell silent almost as quickly as he started. There was nothing left when we got to his location, just footprints. We ran as fast as we could out of there. I'm ashamed we left Dennis behind. There was nothing we could do for him. There were no sounds from the trees that night. Even the wind seemed satiated by the sacrifice. In the eerie silence, no one let their eyes leave the forest. A few hoped that Dennis would re-emerge. Most were waiting to see if they were next.
Luke's Expedition Journal. They've taken another of us. It doesn't get any easier each time. I keep thinking I'm going to turn around and see Neil or Dennis sitting up on a stump with a warm cup of coffee. Then I remember where they are, and I can't help thinking of their mangled bodies just lying in the ground, freezing over. I knew we were ignorant to the ways of this land. Never in my wildest dreams did I think it would be this cruel. We wanted nothing but to make a new home for ourselves and see a world that Vault-Tec had promised to us. Somewhere, we got the idea that we were the chosen people meant to rehabilitate and heal the land once it was safe enough for us to resurface. I can see now that nature has its own way of trying to heal the scars we left behind on our surface. There's not much we can do besides try to make sense of this new world and figure out our place in it. I don't hold out hope that we're going to come across places that are more hospitable. The people we've met so far give me some hope, but I can't help think we're still only scratching the surface of the dangers that are lurking out here, both man-made and nature-made. I'm glad you, Mom, and Dad are safe in the vault. Lucy, if I die up here, I hope you don't come looking for me. Know that this was my choice, and I would never wish for you to see the things that I've seen.
Fitful sleep came near daybreak for some. In the morning, they held a vigil to honor the friends they'd lost. Rebecca addressed everyone who stood around her. This marks 3 people we've lost. Each one of those people was a person we've known for all of our lives. They can't be so easily forgotten. Neil took care of the hard labor we were unable to do. He did it with dignity and respect for those weaker than him. He shouldn't have been forced to make the ultimate decision. He was a hero to the last moment. Sean was brave too, in his own right. He didn't fear death, even when it bared its teeth. Some might say Dennis wasn't as brave as Sean or Neil, or maybe he was, because he stayed kind. And kindness is harder than bravery. It doesn't just require you to be strong, it requires you to be vulnerable. In the end, however, this wasteland punishes vulnerability. We can't be kind anymore, or we'll go extinct.
Luke stood up from where he was sitting, a pile of tinder at his feet. Wait a moment, Doctor. Let's finish this service right. I've got a few things to say to everyone. Basic stuff first. Things Dr. Troy told me. Never be cruel, never be cowardly, and never eat pears. Only dandy boy apples. Remember, hate is foolish, love is always wise. Always try to be nice, but never fail to be kind. I know back then he was just telling me to be nice to people in the vault and eat healthy food, but was he wrong? Because those things seem more important now than they ever did.
Rebecca looked down like she was trying to remember something. You're right. My husband always did like those old melodrama holotape stories. Laugh hard, run fast, be kind. It was some sort of doctor show. I can't remember who the doctor was. At the back of the group, Newton made an exaggerated groan as he threw his bag back onto one of the sleds. Can we get going now before another one of us freezes to death out here? Amka gave Newton a cursory once-over before leaning over to Technova. Hey, is this guy always an asshole? Technova tried not to laugh. Yeah, you get used to it with him, though. He's been that way as long as any of us can remember. Everywhere he goes, he sucks up the happiness. So we make fun of him to lighten the mood sometimes. Amka nodded. Well, I guess I'll just avoid him unless I feel the need for a bit of depression. Smart. It won't get you anywhere trying to change his disposition. I'm sure if he had the chance, he would have racked up some evil karma by now. But he needs us as much as we need him. So it works. Let me know if he gives you any actual problems. I'll set him straight. Thank you, Miss Marigold. I'll let you know. Just call me Technova. Everyone else does.
Eventually the forest gave way. In its place on the horizon was a large sign indicating the city of Ambler, a small fuel refinery town that had been converted to a military base to service the ongoing efforts in Alaska. Deeper in town, they found the Akarang, nestled against a large river. Official documentation said the city was designed as a means for providing equipment and assistance to the Poseidon oil and coal sectors of the United States of America. This was before the town was repurposed to provide support for troops fighting in the Sino-American War. Further north than most places, it was situated as a means to stop the Reds from crossing further into American territory. The group split, with the majority going to search in nearby buildings for anything of use, much like they did in Kotzebue. The main building was easy to miss. It looked like a hill of snow. Even the door was covered in a thick layer of ice. Ronald offered to break the door down. Daniel tapped the door and told him it wouldn't work on steel doors this thick. I might be able to crack it. I saw something similar in a Tumblers Today magazine, an issue teaching locksmithing in the vault. Most of the times, doors like this have an auxiliary switch, or they require a terminal to activate. This one has magnetic locks with an integrated pneumatic timer, which keeps the electromagnetic lock released for about 30 seconds. Get inside quickly when I open it. I just need to trick the keypad connected to this logic gate. Soon Daniel backed away from the door. They heard the familiar whine of steel scraping ice as the door gently slid open. As the snow fell off the facade, writing appeared, etched in the metal. Everyone rushed inside to avoid getting caught in the closing door. David laughed when they finally caught a glimpse of the interior. The crash as the magnetic locks reinitialized was deafening in the hollowed expanse of the pre-war military facility. Data banks and terminals circumvented the building. Graffiti was tagged all around, on equipment, furniture, and walls. David had to transcribe more, the odd script of the Chinese from ancient times. The writing on the outside was saying, "Welcome, come in." I'm not sure how I would feel about that exactly. You can clearly see whoever took over this place couldn't resist a little redecorating. It's hard to tell if this was an American installation or a Chinese one. I doubt anyone was this messy intentionally. Seems odd, a place like this wasn't scavenged for parts. Everything's just thrown around, like a really crappy party. Terminals hummed to life as the dwellers tried to piece the history of the building. There were no bodies to tell a story of what occurred here, only the bygone thoughts of soldiers. The large central terminal sat imposing in the artificial darkness.
Marie parked herself in front of the main terminal and began hacking it, looking for information regarding Vault 710's oil reserves. Even outside of the vault, it still weighed on her mind. If the answers can't be found in the vault, I wonder what a facility like this would know about where we came from. She did this despite Amka's objections, who observed that they had no idea who could be monitoring the system, as if she expected someone to spring some sort of trap. Since their entry to this place, Amka had been visibly nervous. Marie stopped what she was doing, asking her what was wrong. Amka's response was short. "This place belongs to those who are dead, and the dead keep it. There's nothing here but echoes. My people try never to enter places like this. They are cursed." The message Marie received on the PoseidoNet system was short. Her digging had been interrupted by an outside source, most likely automated, she told herself. United States Oil Reserve. This information is off limits to civilians. The proper authorities have been notified. Please present your authorization upon inspection. God bless America. Marie looked over to Amka again. Don't worry, the government doesn't exist anymore. If it did, our vault would have been recommandeered and forced back to slavery. We also wouldn't be here. No one is coming. Deeper in the main building, across multiple terminal entries, they found the story of how China took control of Ambler. When the Chinese soldiers found this site, it was designed as a switching station to send raw materials through the pipelines going through Canada, then down to the lower 48, mostly following the transatlantic pipeline. The sources for this oil came from multiple wells, owned by companies like PetroChico, Red Rocket, and Poseidon. Some of these places had sent a portion of their yield to Vault 710. This was what helped to keep the lights on and the floor heated. Other areas receiving oil were listed as Anchorage proper, Kotzebue, Noatak, and the cities of Portlock and Wainwright. Esther Higgs log, May 26, 2296. We received a message a few hours ago. It came from outside the vault. It was relayed on the vault-wide speaker system, a group called the Enclave. They say they're the government of the United States, here to offer help to the vault citizens. Their message ended with, "God bless America." I suppose they didn't get a response in the time they wanted, as a second message came shortly after. As the government of America, we have access to all the vaults that house the populace of our great nation. We've come to your defense today after we discovered suspicious terminal entries on your vault-wide network. At that point, I went to Brooks' office, along with others, to see his response in person. They've asked us to open the vault door so they can assess the situation and offer medical aid to those in need. Something about this seems odd. Our cameras trained on the front door don't have the best resolution. The people who were positioned there did appear to be wearing government-issued equipment. The government emblem on their uniform wasn't exactly the one I learned about. The circle of stars was there, but in the place of the large star there was a capital E in the center instead. The chatter that started in the vault after that reverberated through the halls louder than a group of double-O pipes. You could see the sides that everyone was on the moment the message finished. There were those who wanted to rush to the door immediately, hoping to invite their saviors to take them away from the dangers of the vault. I'm not sure where I stand. I doubt we should open the door until we know their intentions. It's not as if we've had any contact with any form of government since the vault sealed shut. I don't want to risk becoming a slave. Although either way, it could cost us our lives if we don't manage to kill the beast driving us insane.
Ryan Andrews log, May 30th, 2296. The government came to save us. I knew one day they would show up to bring us to the real America, somewhere warm with cactuses or a beach. I bet it's beautiful where they come from. I wish we could leave sooner. I don't know what the Overseer is doing by delaying their entry. They must be cold outside. We should bring them in immediately and have a feast to welcome our new saviors. Who knows how long it took for them to get here from wherever they came from. I saw the camera footage. Those power armors look badass. Maybe they'll kill that monster before we leave. I can see it now. Huge Gatling lasers and plasma casters just shredding that beast. I wonder what model of vertebrate they flew in on. I hope they put me on the same plane as Lucy. First, someone needs to convince the overseer to open the door as soon as possible. If he doesn't, they might get angry and choose to leave us here. We'll get him to open it one way or the other, if he doesn't see reason. Even the people who wanted to leave would back us. They've been wanting him to reopen the doors for weeks.
Overseer's Log, June 1st, 2296. In the end, I had no choice but to open the vault door. I was unwilling to incite an insurrection. The Amikuk was right about the rebellion to my authority. There was already a large group in front of the great gear that comprised the vault door. They all watched me as I turned on the communication system to the outside. It would be an understatement to say I was anxious. My talk with the government liaison is transcribed for myself to study later. Hello, gentlemen. If you're the government, why do you need me to open our vault door? We are in fact the government. This vault has been commandeered from the Poseidon Oil Company, part of the Societal Preservation Initiative. You are being instructed to open this door immediately, citizen. That doesn't answer my question, sir. I would like to see your credentials. Our computer engineers are unable to interface with your data systems. You'll need to take my word for it, citizen. Most likely due to the analog nature of your vault, even your communication system uses archaic microphones. Now open up, so we can help you. Unfortunately, the uproar of people made it difficult to make out much more than that. I did catch that they were intending to come in one way or the other, though. I'm sure if I had refused to open the vault door, the people behind me would have forced it open to let the government in, probably shoving me out at the exact same time. Their motivations seemed to do more with simply entering the vault rather than helping us. They're here among us now. Their first order of business was to begin testing the dwellers. It seems strange to me. Maybe they wanted to see the results for themselves rather than relying on the weekly reports I had been sending to Vault-Tec HQ. This is the first time I've seen power armor anywhere other than a book. It really does make you look imposing. The group wore a few different variations. One housed vacuum tubes around its surface that glowed with a bluish-white light. They seemed to be connected to the plasma weapons they had equipped. They were very similar to our single-person plasma cutters. The one I'd like to wear if I ever got the chance was a sleek unit with yellow eyes. Emblazoned on the arm was Power Armor XO1 Hellfire Unit.
We hope you enjoyed our story. Thank you again for joining us. If you'd like to hear more about why war never changes, please subscribe to get regular updates on the adventures of the dwellers from Vault 710. If you're excited about the expanding Fallout universe, please feel free to tell your friends and spread the word. If you'd like to contribute, we invite you to join our Patreon. Subscribers will get access to episodes 1 week early. Our hope is that these stories help fill the void of being unable to play Fallout 5.